dystopian stuff happening.
Cisgender this, cisgender that. Meanwhile,
Democrats went too far with this.
hello everybody, and welcome to another week of Beyond Parody. I am your host, Dan Dillon, and I am joined by our panel, Robin.
Hello! Welcome to the new year. What is it? 2005, 2006? Something like that?
You're a little behind.
That's what it
You're a
feels
little
like.
behind. Travis Woodside, who looks thrilled to be here. Look at him. Look at his face. And Mr. B, Travis, you're not frozen, are you? I mean, is he frozen?
Can he hear us? Oh my gosh, Travis.
We got to leave this in the show.
Oh, it's happening. Hey, guys, I'm very happy that you guys get to be on a podcast with me this year again for season 2.
Me too.
Travis, did you hear any of that just happened?
Sorry, I was looking at cute videos of pandas. I was like, oh, they're all working on something. Pandas.
Travis, you're my cute panda.
Travis, we are live on the air. We're doing it live right now.
We are
This is
here.
season 2 of Beyond Parody. We took, 3 or 4 weeks off. We had Christmases. I hope everybody had a good Christmas and a happy New Year. Nothing crazy happened for us. We were in North Carolina. We were hoping for snow, but it was like 70 degrees. We went skiing, and it was a disaster. I have 4 kids, and my wife doesn't ski, so I have to manage 4 kids on a ski slope, and it's
A lot.
60 degrees outside, and I'm really hot. You know what's funny is that at 60 degrees, the snow, it's not icy. It's that snow is melted, so it's actually just slushy. It actually is very soft.
Yeah.
It's kind of like emulating powder, but I would not recommend it to anybody because you
It's
also
like spring skiing. It's been bad in Utah too. We finally got dumped on, but Christmas was bad. It was a very dry, warmish Christmas, very eerie. I didn't like it.
I
Merry
traveled
Christmas.
to Utah right after Christmas
Oh.
to beautiful Cedar City and up to Bryan Head to take the kids to some snow. And,
Was there any snow down there?
There was a little bit. There was some. So it was enough to go sledding. Not much to do anything else.
Mr. B, what'd you do? Did you do anything interesting?
Well, I moved out of Florida for my entire adult life, 30 years, to Tennessee to get a change of season. We were so excited for Christmas, and it was that heat spell. So we had a 73-degree Christmas. I felt like I was in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida.
Nice. You know what we did get in at our house that we were staying at in North Carolina? We got 95-mile-per-hour winds.
Jeez.
Wow.
There was a windstorm, and the town of Banner Elk recorded 95-mile-per-hour winds right next to us. There's an entire mountain near us where every single tree got knocked down. But anyway, I don't know that anybody cares about any of this stuff, so let's get into the news, all right? We've got so much stuff that's happened since the last time that we were on. You know, we had Venezuela, that whole situation happened. We had the Somalian fraud thing, which is like the biggest story of the entire year happened.
No, we're just going to push that under the rug. It's all gone.
Right after we stopped recording, we had the Somalian fraud stuff come out. And it was like Christmas. It was real Christmas, but it was also like Christmas for our websites because there was so much good content to cover in the Somalian fraud thing. You had the Leering Center, which was like the greatest meme of all time. That these Somalians have typos. I mean, it wasn't just the Leering Center. There were like 9 different Somalian daycare centers that have typos on the printed signs on their buildings and stuff like that. And this stuff is all still ongoing. Nick Shirley just released his second video. And it gets a little even more extreme and violent than the first one with people like kicking him out and all this other stuff. So we've got that situation unfolding. We don't have to go into a lot of detail on that because I think it's been covered ad nauseum on all these different podcasts and any news that you cover, but any news that you follow. But I just have to say, it is really sickening the state of waste in our country, and it's really difficult for me. You know, I was looking at the term anarcho-tyranny, and my wife's like, "What's that?" And I read the definition for it, and it's like it is kind of the state that we're living in right now because we were talking about our taxes, right? And it's like we've got some capital gains taxes we got to pay this year from the sale of a home, and I'm like, I've got to find out all the things that we can deduct for it. And I'm going through this whole process of making sure that I get everything right so I can pay as much or as little taxes as I'm allowed to pay, right?
Right.
Based upon my exemptions. And I'm like, if I screw any of this stuff up, it's like I'm getting in trouble.
Right.
Meanwhile, in Minnesota,
Just go for it.
you've just got these people who they shouldn't be in our country legally because the whole refugee program is messed up. It's not that there aren't people who are legitimately seeking asylum in places, but it's obviously being abused. You've got people, it was something like 75% of people who are seeking asylum from a country visit that country on an annual basis for vacation. Yeah. It's like, that's not real asylum. It's not. If you're seeking asylum from a country, you're not going and visiting it for vacation, right? You're not going home to see family for the holidays or whatever, So you have all these people who are in our country that shouldn't be in our country. They're only here because of our ridiculous asylum laws, just completely frauding everybody. But also the rules aren't enforced on them. They're just not. They're not. I honestly don't know when we will see any actual arrests of meaningful people. All of these people should be deported immediately. Their families, every single one of them should be deported immediately. Anybody who is running, pretty much, I guarantee you, I know that there might be an exception, but for the most part, you can probably blanket statement say that any Somalian daycare in the state of Minnesota is fraud. Any one of them. Any one of them.
Yeah, it's insane. And I have been following this. It's interesting. I agree with you 100%, Dan, because for those of us that do the right thing, right? We file our taxes and we pay so much. We're a family of 5 kids and it's insane how much we pay. My son's getting his first job this week and I am excited for him to see what the government takes out of his paycheck because I guarantee it will radicalize him once he takes a look at that and he goes, "Oh, I made so much money." And I am becoming more and more radicalized against the tyranny of taxes every day. Every day when I think about the waste and the fraud and the abuse and what is happening in our government. And I agree with you that some people can come into the country and just and let's be honest. If you can work the system, people are going to do it. If there are these loopholes and all of these government grants and NGOs and agencies to just give out money for refugees, and I do think there's a case to be made for some asylum seekers. Obviously, there's horrible things happening in other countries, and there is a case to be made for bringing some people in. Trump is really
but those
ratcheting down on that.
I already said this, but those systems really just simply exist, honestly, in order to be abused. They do. And the reason that they need to be abused is because Democrats need these people in their states in order to vote for them. And they vote 100% Democrat. Again, maybe there's it's 99.4% Democrat, right? Because the Democrats keep wanting to bring more of their relatives in. So they want that. Sure. And the Democrats keep printing millions. We're not talking about these people are making a decent $60,000 salary running their daycare. These people are getting rich.
Yeah, millions.
And you've got huge numbers of metric tons of $100 bills going through the airport in Minneapolis and being shipped back to Somalia. You're talking about billions and billions of dollars feeding the economy of Somalia and not staying in the United States, coming straight out of our pockets.
Right.
So the definition of anarcho-tyranny is a political term popularized by writer Sam Francis that describes a system where the government fails to enforce basic law and order, anarchy, while aggressively regulating, surveilling, and punishing law-abiding citizens, tyranny. That's the state of the United States government.
And I will say I am an equal opportunity something or other, but I want, if there's Republican fraud in Republican states, root it out. If there is Democrat fraud in blue states, root it out. I do not care who you are. If you are committing fraud on any level, here in Utah, we're already doing investigations into daycares. But if it's happening in Mississippi, Florida, any of these red states, I hope that we are applying the same standards. It's not a political witch hunt or whatever.
The people who cheat on their taxes, the people who don't go through the process of trying to figure out exactly how to file their taxes, right? They should be held accountable, right? And it's not because I like taxes. It's just because when we do live in this system, you're supposed to follow the rules. And the only way that you can have a high trust, high safety society is if everybody makes their best efforts to do those things.
Right.
And people who are violent criminals, they should be the exception and they should be locked up and they should never be allowed to do it again. But unfortunately, because of the anarcho part of this anarcho-tyranny thing, the anarchy part, those people are getting released on the streets, and that's where you see these stabbings in Charlotte, and you see all this other stuff happening with people who have been arrested 10, 20, 30, 40 times before, sometimes tens, 20s of times for violent things and being released back on the streets. Whereas if I were to do one thing violent, I'm in jail for 15, 20 years. This is like, you got to open up your eyes. Like, really, like, I feel like Candace Owens right now telling you,
Just follow the trail, man. But you
we
got
have to open up our eyes. That's the system that we currently
need
live
crazy
in.
eyes, Dan. Crazy eyes.
This is like
Candace Owens.
This is like the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. Like, that's what's happening in our society right now.
That's great.
Candace Owens.
The good news is, I guess, even though this was all discovered after years of unchecked fraud, that ICE is going in there and is deporting people. What I'm concerned about is that people who were involved in a position of government, and I don't know for sure, obviously, but like, for example, everyone's kind of thinking Tim Walz was involved. He's never going to get arrested.
Nope.
It's just never going to happen.
No, and these Somalians aren't going to get arrested. I don't think that anything is going to happen, even with Republican House, Republican Senate, Republican Supreme Court, Republican president. I don't think that anybody's going to be held accountable for this stuff. You know, there are some deportations happening, but the deportations are typically happening because of other crime, not because of this crime. They're happening with the people who are sex offenders or people who, you know, held up a liquor store or something like that. Those people are getting deported, but this fraud crime, I don't think anybody's going to be held accountable. And it's so unfathomable. Is that the right word? No.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't fathom it.
You cannot fathom it.
It's so unfathomable that this amount of fraud is happening. The amount of billions of dollars in one single state. Minnesota is not the highest populated state. It's not the most likely state to be committing fraud like this. You look at California, look at New York. Those states thrive on creating opportunities for people to come into their states and seek asylum and do whatever the heck they want. Look at New York City now with, you know, their communist mayor and everything.
Ma'am Danny.
The amount of fraud that's going to happen under Mom Donnie in New York City, and they just announced a daycare program themselves in New York City, is going to be unfathomable.
Well, it is. It's just this giant pig trough of grift, and everybody who can take a seat at that table is going to jump in. And it's the government, to speak in libertarian terms, the government does not generate revenue. This is something people do not understand. They're like, oh, the government has so much money. We give the government money as taxpayers, and then they turn around and appropriate it. And they don't. The government does not have any revenue generating arms. It all comes from. It all comes from taxes. It all comes from us. And I have equated this to your point, Dan, of nobody's going to do anything about it. It is the one ring. Government spending, and as an arm of that government corruption, is the one ring that nobody will throw into the fires of Mount Doom. Nobody, and Elon tried, and you've got Rand Paul and, you know, a few people on the fringes, but nobody is going to get in a position of power and then destroy their power. It's just not going to happen. And until we have I did read a very heartening article last night that said that the rate of increase of the national deficit is actually been decreasing over the last 6 months or so, for the first time in like 20 years, which is a big deal. We are slowly, but we currently have a rate of increase of like 1.2 trillion every 6 months, which is insane. It is. I don't know how we're sleeping at night.
Unfathomable.
It's unfathomable. We're going to go off a cliff, and so I actually am at the point where I just think we are going to go off the cliff, and that will be the trigger.
I don't know. We've talked about this, I think, on the podcast before. I don't know what happens. It's like the government. We owe money to who? Who's going to collect the money on the United States? I don't know what the government. The debt thing almost feels like a part of this anarcho-tyranny cycle, where that's how you keep Republicans scared and like in line is this, you know, this fear of debt. It's how you keep fiscal conservatives, I guess you could say, in line. I don't know. Nobody's going to come and collect on the United States. It's not going to happen. But what does that mean? Does it mean that the world just is in a deficit to who? You know, it's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So no one realistically is going to collect because they won't be able to, but they can stop lending. And that would be the one problem, because you get shut off. You shut off the valve, and then we don't have more money coming in.
I agree with you, except for the fact that the United States economic engine is the engine of the entire world. It really is. I mean, we're even funding Somalia right now with all of our, we have so much excess. We have such a big GDP. We have so much ingenuity. We have so many inventions and all these other things that fuel the economies of the rest of the world that nobody's going to stop doing business with the United States. It's just, if it's at this point, if we're at $40 trillion, 80 trillion doesn't matter.
Well, it's already happening though. A lot of retail revenue and manufacturing revenue is going towards China after the tariffs that we've been going through. I was reading another thing last night that said that China has increased their national income, whatever the terms are, by so many multiples after tariffs, because it is expensive now to do commerce with the US. And so as a downstream effect of that, a lot of purchasing is now moving towards China, and China
their
right now
trade surplus is 1.5 trillion or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's definitely effects, but what I'm saying is, listen, there might be some point where this comes to a head and like it's bad, but ultimately the United States is what provides the service of a real economy to the rest of the world. Europe is sitting like around doing nothing, trying to figure out solar cells, and that's it. Like Africa produces nothing. Australia produces nothing. The Middle East really produces nothing. They're really now the ultimate consumers. They just produce oil. And
now we got Venezuela.
Asia also produces. Asia and North America produce, right? Like, and everybody else is reliant on that for increases in technology, increases in ingenuity, all that other stuff. Like the United States economy, like it can't go under because it's what's fueling the entire economy of the globe, is what I'm saying. Anyway, you mentioned grifters, and we have the ultimate grifting going on that I want to talk about. And we've been kind of silent on this a little bit more maybe than we should have been on this podcast. We haven't been silent publicly on it, but there are a couple people who are speaking really loud in the conservative movement right now and just kind of coming up with nonsense. You've got Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and Candace Owens are the three that I'm talking about. They've kind of gone off the deep end. And when I say that, I'm not saying that like lightly. Like, we've got to watch these clips of Candace Owens now, and I'm trying to figure out what the grift is here with Candace, and what
is it grift, or does she? I think
it's either she's gone insane, legitimately insane, or maybe not insanity, but some sort of level of megalomania that's affected her ability, psychosis of some sort, her ability to really think logically. Or what I think might be happening is she's implicated so many people falsely in Charlie Kirk's death at this point in time that she's trying to actually reframe her show as an entertainment show. I think it actually might be part of her grift is now, if she makes insane enough statements like the one that we're going to talk about right now, which is basically that she's an alien and Charlie Kirk is a time traveler. And she's not saying these things like as a joke. Like, she's saying she actually thinks Charlie Kirk was part of a government program of time travelers. We'll show you the clips. It's not me making that up. She's saying
I have to see this clip, Dan.
Have you not seen it, B?
She
no.
I think she's positioning her. She's either gone and actually legally insane, and she actually believes this stuff, or she is trying to make her show out to be the National Enquirer. And if she does that, then people can't sue her for, just like the people don't sue the National Enquirer for saying false stuff, right? Because it's obviously just an entertainment show. Nobody actually believes this stuff, is what she could claim in court. I'm starting to think that that's maybe where this is all going, and why her claims keep getting more and more and more exaggerated. And she'll look back when she's eventually sued for defamation and say, obviously this isn't, a serious news show, guys. Like, obviously this is just me saying, making stuff up. Like, look, I'm talking about, let's watch the Sumerian technology clip first. I'm going to bring this up real quick. This is nuts. I mean, it's nuts. That's the only way I can put it. Here we go. This is Candace Owens talking about how she knows the government has been using ancient Sumerian technology to tell us the future.
You know what I wanted to talk about today? However, I'll save it for tomorrow, but this Project Looking Glass and the CIA, I wonder what they saw looking into the future stealing not Egyptian but Sumerian technology, which is what they did. These are culture vultures. The Gypsies is what they are. They wear whatever mask they need to. They have to either pretend to be Catholic, do I have to pretend to be Jewish, do I have to pretend to be Muslim?
Try to be
No,
Candace.
they're thieves. They're glorified thieves is what these people
Are they thieves or are they glorified thieves?
are. And they've always been this since the beginning of history. And
So the CIA is a part of some sort of a conspiracy that's been going on since the Sumerian times to read the future.
Well, they stole.
some Sumerian technology that allowed them to predict outcomes. And that technology stopped working.
Do they steal like the first calculator? Like it can predict outcomes?
I can calculate everything about my life
This
in
sounds
this.
like a fun movie. I'd watch this movie.
2012. We're going to get into that tomorrow. I find it to be fascinating. I wonder if they saw Charlie Kirk.
Wonder.
Anyways.
Should we call a doctor for her?
Well, this is the
Yes.
start of it. This is the start of it. So now you're talking about Sumerian technology. You're talking about the CIA predicting the future based upon some technology that they stole, which obviously never existed. Otherwise, the Sumerians wouldn't have gone belly up. They would have survived if they knew what the future was.
Survive.
That's the first thing, right? So now let's look at her talking about the time traveling. Okay.
I haven't seen this one. I'm excited.
She's going to be talking a little bit fast, but we're going to do that so that we get through the whole thing a little bit quicker. All right, here we go.
Why did Charlie think he was a time traveler?
Oh no, that's too fast. That's unfathomably fast.
Unfathomable path.
Why did Charlie think he was a time traveler? He by the way, we'll look at the text message that he sent her, and it is obviously a joking like text message where he's like, I guess I'm a time traveler, whatever. That she's now literally interpreting in order to make this entire argument.
Why did Charlie think he was a time traveler? He said, as I showed you in earlier messages, that he was a time traveler and he had to find me. Is that just something people are saying to their homies in text messages?
I say it to my
Not
homies.
anything that I would have placed.
Nobody would ever send a joke text to a friend.
Ever. Oh my God.
Marty, don't kiss your mother.
No, that would never happen. So this is now the crux of her new thing. This is the crux of her new thing. He actually is a time traveler.
So much
Man.
emphasis on back when he was saying it, but it came to fruition. The other part, he did die young. Why did he think that him dying young was necessary in order to change things? He did die young. It is related to Turning Point USA. In some way or another, at the very least, we can all agree it's related to him speaking at a campus event for Turning Point USA.
Obviously.
I'm totally occupied by this.
She's
I bet you are.
No
She
kidding.
would rank a great. What are they called? The horoscope readers. What are they?
Oh, like
Palm
Miss
reader?
Cleo
Palm
or
reader. Yeah, palm readers. Like,
Cleo.
she's using all the information that she knows in order to justify everything that she's saying.
I tell you, I read these messages and I'm going, what is this? What is reality, actually? And Charlie died. Yes, like I said, it was related to this organization. And I think we would all agree that his death and the manner that they did it changed the world in ways that I don't think we can fully realize, or certainly not in a way that I can articulate. You
We would
just
all
cannot
agree.
pretend that all of this is one big unhappy coincidence. It's entirely plausible, I think, that they knew something about Charlie. And that's why they had him
Who are
marked
they?
and
I
had him
lost who
monitored
they
and
is.
had him likely
The CIA.
Who are
with
they?
Sumerian technology.
What did they know?
followed since he was
Who
young.
is your
Wait,
mom?
wait.
Who
You
is
guys
your
are.
dad?
You guys are. This, she's going to talk about it. He had agents,
Sorry.
time travel agents that were following him since he was young.
I'm sorry,
Listen.
Dan.
Sorry, Dan.
Since he was young, and that's why they had him marked and had him monitored and had him likely
Marked, monitored, and likely followed. She's just saying stuff.
followed since he was young. And maybe they thought, like the agents think, that if they swarmed him and they stayed with him and they pretended to be his friend, that ultimately they could control Charlie and perhaps change an outcome. They could literally change an outcome related to Charlie. So when for the first time in his life, because I do believe he was managed, I mean, I've already said I was handled. I didn't recognize that I had agents. And for the first time in his life,
agents?
Charlie
This chick is such a megalomaniac. She thinks she has time travel agents managing her life and dictating her passage through whatever reality is.
he peeks his head up and starts to push back in a meaningful way. He couldn't stop him from becoming bigger. That seemed to be inevitable. But they panicked. They seemed to have panicked, right? I mean, this is just starting to happen within a year when Charlie's going like, hey, man, I don't actually think this. I don't actually believe this. And then he goes, you know what? Take the money. Take the money out of the organization.
So I'm going to stop there. I can't listen to any more of this. So basically, her hypothesis is that there are people who can read the future that know that Charlie is going to make a big impact, and so they plant agents in his life from the very beginning of his life to help steer him and try to utilize use him for their bidding. But then when they realize they can't, I think she's talking about the Israel thing again, probably.
I think that's
Israel.
definitely what she's talking about, because they're saying, we can't control him.
So then they have him killed, but they were following him. If they know about the future, then how do they know that they're, then they should know that they're not going to be successful in using him for their bidding, right? Like
that was all part of it. I don't know how far this rabbit hole goes. Watching her, to be honest, and I'll be careful how I say this, but I have a family member who has a lot of psychological issues that have been fueled by addiction over the years, a lot of drug use and alcohol use. And when you're talking to this person, this conversation always starts off with a reasonable premise, kind of like how Candace, and then all of a sudden there comes a moment when it just takes a right turn into lizard people and all of this stuff, but it's delivered with the same level of seriousness and credibility as the original like normal statement is, and it's really hard to track when that shift happens. And honestly, listening to Candace, it's the very same vibe of psychosis that I've recognized in people who suffer from these mental illness of delusion where you cannot perceive what is real and what is fake. And the difference with Candace is this family member of mine does not have an audience, and Candace does, and she has a giant audience, and people believe her, and it's terrifying that she has this kind of reach. And I don't know what's going on in her mind, but if you're listening to this and you think this is credible, you might need to get some mental help. I mean that honestly and seriously.
Well, unless you're watching the show in any other way than looking at it as just entertainment, which is what she's trying, I think, to frame it as at this point in time.
I think a lot of people are watching it that way. Maybe not pure entertainment, but kind of definitely like the train wreck you can't look away from. Because she used to be.
We've seen for ourselves how her army comes out and will defend her. There are people who believe this, and it's terrifying to me. Yeah. It is terrifying.
Megyn Kelly has said this before, like, I will defend her to my grave because she's just asking questions. And it's like,
she's
she's not just asking questions. She's making very, very assertive comments about like ridiculous things, implicating people, including me and my brother in Charlie Kirk's death, which is completely
It's because
ludicrous.
you're a time traveler, Dan.
And people will say, oh, well, that's why you're opposed to this, because she implicated you in her death. But it's like, I didn't even respond to that stuff because it's so laughably stupid. And like, it's really insane that like, there are people that still defend her, but I think it is becoming less like you've got the Megyn Kelly crowd is backing off. The Tucker Carlson crowd is kind of backing off a little bit too. And Candace Owens, her rankings are dropping on the podcasts. And I think people are starting to see, wait a second, we've been manipulated this entire time. Because, and this is the thing. Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly is like, well, I'm going to defend Candace Owens even if people tell me not to, because she is just she has the right to ask questions. It's like, she doesn't have a monopoly on asking questions. All of us have questions about Charlie Kirk's death. I want to know the answers to some of the basic questions about how did the shooter get up on the roof and then down with his gun, and the video doesn't necessarily align, and then why did he dump it and then come back for it, and then why did the text messages seem so fake? Those are legitimate questions. I'm allowed to ask those questions too, but that doesn't mean I'm going to then go out and find somebody like, say, Candace Owens and say, oh, Candace met with Charlie 6 months before, therefore she must be pressuring him into something, and if he's dead, it means that she didn't like how that meeting went. Right. Like that's just me just grabbing at straws and trying to come up with something to talk about on the air. I would never say that because it didn't happen, and I'm not going to make stuff up, right?
Yeah.
And like I was saying, during COVID, a lot of stuff came out where we started saying, oh my gosh, we have to question a lot more than we have been. There was so much blatant government overreach and people working in the shadows and stuff happening, and so much fog of miscommunication. And then we had what did Biden call that lady? The misinformation czar, and so much crazy dystopian stuff happening that we all wanted to listen to people speak who are speaking the truth. This is why Joe Rogan's podcast got so big, because he was willing to say, hey, I don't know about this. I don't know, but you can bottom out on that. And it's really hard to question things, like you were saying, Dan, and not go so far that your brain falls out of your head. And I see, and this is not an exclusive issue to the right. There are conspiracy theories crazy ones on the left that I see. And people just believe anything because it kind of confirms their priors. And it is hard to walk the line between, the government has done some, MK Ultra was crazy. And I've read a lot about that, the Tuskegee experiments, all of these things. There have been real government conspiracies that turned out to be true. That doesn't mean we believe everything. You just kind of have to use your brain. And
Dan, can we do a new segment for season 2 called the Dandis Owens Minute? And you come up with a story that's completely outrageous.
I don't know that I want to give that much airtime to Dandis Owens conspiracy theories, but it's worth talking about at least once on the show and kind of coming to, like if you watch this show and you like are a hardcore Candace Owens fan and not just a troll who's just tuning in because some algorithm showed this video to you because we discussed Candace Owens in the show and you want to come on here and say something stupid in the comments. Like if you watch her and you really like think that she's like asking hard questions that are really, really important, and then you watch this, I want to know in the comments, how do you feel that way? Like, how do you feel that anything, she discredits everything that she says by the fact that she's willing to say stuff like this with no evidence whatsoever. Like, and it's been that way the whole time. It's just, this has gotten to the point where like, you can't deny it anymore. Like how ridiculous it is. And speaking of that, to transition to another subject, the other thing that's kind of come to that head is finally the, transgender competition in women's sports, men competing in women's sports, has finally made it to the Supreme Court, right? So eventually this language and flowery language, cisgender this, cisgender that, trans male competing in women, trans female competing with men, all these stupid words that don't even actually have any real meaning at all are finally like having to come out in courts. And in courts, you actually have to be able to define things. And there's some crazy stuff that's happened over the course of this week. The Supreme Court sat down to finally hear oral arguments in some of these important cases related to males trying to compete in women's sports and under the guise of their gender identity being what they should be, using for Title IX, basically, which just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So we got some great clips coming out of the Supreme Court. They're not really great. They actually make me feel really sad about life.
Me too. Talk about conspiracy theories. The greatest conspiracy theory of our time is that men can literally become women. I mean, that is World Weekly News.
So let's watch that clip first. This isn't the one from Congress. This is Justice Alito questioning the ACLU on.
These are all so good.
On whether a man
and terrifying.
What does it mean to be a man or a woman? And let's just watch this clip. This is insane stuff that people are actually to the point where they are arguing in front of the Supreme Court with no argument whatsoever. They don't have an argument for what their case is.
Yes, Your Honor.
If it does that, then is it not necessary for there to be, for equal protection purposes, if that is challenged under the Equal Protection Clause, an understanding of what it means to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that definition? For equal protection purposes, what does it mean to be a boy or a girl or a man?
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. I think that the underlying enactment, whatever it was, the policy, the law, we'd have to have an understanding of how the state or the government was just understanding that term to figure out whether or not someone was excluded. We do not have a definition for the court, and
they don't have a definition of boy and girl.
Definition of what a boy.
The way it applies in practice is to exclude birth sex males categorically from women's teams, and that there's a subset of those birth sex males where it doesn't make sense to do so according to the state's own interest.
Well, how can a court determine that there's discrimination on the basis of sex without knowing what sex means for equal protection purposes?
That's like one of the craziest things ever had to be said by a Supreme Court justice. Like, how can you come to me and say that people are being discriminated against on sex for their sex?
Yeah.
And then not be able to define what sex is.
They should have, at the very least, they should have come prepared with some sort of definition, even if it was a false one. It's weird that they're like, we just don't know. We have nothing.
Yeah, they have no definition for it. So the case should be overturned and thrown out, because the lawyers for this, defending this position that people who are born male but then identify as female should be able to, compete and in girls' sports.
Yeah.
They're claiming they're being discriminated on based upon sex, and then can't define what sex is. They do not have an argument. There's no argument. There's no argument whatsoever. So now let's play maybe even scarier clip, because this is a person who's somewhat young, who got appointed by Joe Biden to the Supreme Court and is going to have a lifetime term on the Supreme Court and cannot form a single coherent sentence about gender. In fact, it's funny because she's the one, Ketanji Brown Jackson is the one who famously said, "I'm not a biologist," when she was asked what is a woman on Congress during her hearing to determine whether or not she was qualified to be on the court. And it turns out she's going to hear a lot of cases like this where she should be able to answer that question, right? That was a great question to ask her, because you need to be able to define what a woman is if you're going to be handling Title IX, especially type cases, right? Mm-hmm. Well, this is her rambling, and she says something really funny here. She uses the term cisgender instead of cisgender.
Someone with red hair that...
Yeah. Maybe identifies as not ginger.
It's a man with red hair who's having a baby.
Let me present this one now. This is Clay Travis. There we go. Listen to how ridiculous Ketanji Brown Jackson sounds when he tries to discuss what a woman is.
You have the overarching classification, everybody has to be play on the team that is the same as their sex at birth. But then you have a gender identity definition that is operating within that, meaning a distinction, meaning that for cisgender girls,
cisgenders,
they can play consistent with their gender identity. For transgender girls, they can't.
So I think that, okay. So, as to the part about your ability to pass over from boy to girl,
yes,
you can go from one way but not the other. I want to be clear that BPJ is not challenging that specific classification. I think that's important to start with. But I think, if anything, that's useful evidence as to the lack of a transgender-based discrimination, because if the legislature were just sort of unsettled by the notion of transgender athletes, I think the answer would have been to then bar them from passing over anyone consistent with their gender.
I appreciate that. I guess I was getting at the what I understood the Chief Justice to be trying to discuss, which was this notion that
this is not somebody discussing law at a Supreme Court level. This is somebody just kind of saying, I kind of feel like, isn't there some, even though this is based on sex, I kind of feel like maybe we should consider this other stuff. That's kind of how she's talking. She's not using any precedent. She's not using any legal terms. She's not defining anything. She's just kind of talking about how she feels about it, right?
Just about the definition of we accept that you can separate boys and girls, and we are now looking at the definition of a girl, and we're saying only people who were girl assigned at birth.
And they keep using that assigned at birth term.
That's what a girl is. I'm sorry. It's just an observed biological reality. It is not assigned at birth. It is ridiculous. And the problem with this whole, and this is the bottom is going to fall out on this. The Supreme Court case has been really interesting to follow, because they went too far. You went too far. In Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where he's like, first off, you can never go too far. You guys went too far. The Democrats went too far with this. And you listen to that first back and forth with Alito, and the lawyer cannot define what transgender is, because you can't define what it is. You cannot define what someone's perceived identity is of themselves. And that's okay in philosophy classes if you want to talk about what is identity and what is gender. These are some interesting big topics. But when it comes to legal definitions, there are definitions of what is a woman and what is a man. And that lawyer came to the Supreme Court without having a definition that she could point to is crazy. And then you look at Ketanji Brown Jackson, who's talking about sex and this whole, abstract sex assigned at birth and all of this stuff. It's just, so the Supreme Court is most likely going to rule in favor of the states upholding their bans on trans athletes. And this is going to have a lot of interesting downstream effects, which I am here for.
But the crazy thing is that, and I posted this on Not the Bee. This is nuts. I want you guys to look at this picture.
Sure.
Look at this photo and ask yourself, why is it the men of the Supreme Court that must stand up to defend women? These are 3 traitors to their own kind. I mean, it's insane. And to be honest with you, based upon the arguments that we heard, Amy Coney Barrett might also side with the other women.
She used some of the terminology, the trans girls.
She's talking about cisgender. She's like honoring these ridiculous qualifiers for gender identity in her speech on the Supreme Court. Like these words are being uttered as if they have actual palpable meaning.
That's ridiculous.
From the bench by these 4, and the 4 that are doing it are the women, the ones that we're trying to protect.
Right.
This reminds me of Miracle on 34th Street, where they try and bring Kris Kringle in and say he is Santa, he's not Santa. It's so ridiculous. If the post office says that it's cisgender, then it's cisgender. I mean, this is ridiculous.
So here we go.
Now, I will say with those pictures, Elena Kagan, there is... That's great.
I love that.
That wasn't one of mine. I don't think she'll vote against all of this or for it, whatever the liberal side is, but she has actually raised some interesting questions. She's at least questioned some of this. The other 2 have not. So it'll just be the 3 of them.
Why does it have to be political either? I don't understand this. Like, why do you have to just
stupid hill to die on?
It is dumb hill to die on. So we have a Babylon Bee headline up on the screen right now for those who are listening and not watching. And Babylon Bee's headline is 5-year-old brought in to explain difference between boys and girls to Supreme Court. And he's just pointing at a picture of a stick figure boy and a stick figure girl. And it's
triangle versus stick.
I like what he says. Boys have wee-wees and girls have VVs.
I hadn't heard VV. I'm going to start using that.
Oh, man.
So, there's a lot of ridiculousness going on. And there's a lot of people trying to warp reality. You've got grifters, with their podcasts trying to do it. You've got Supreme Court justices doing it. And, I don't know. We live in the craziest world. Like, that's why our show's called Beyond Parody. Like, this stuff is beyond parody. You couldn't fathom. It's unfathomable that we would be at this point. In 2000, the year 2000, when everything was going pretty well and like life was pretty good and there weren't a ton of racial tensions, right? Like there always have been, but like the world was doing pretty good and we were successful and everybody was having a good time and just living their lives. And now everybody is just trying to force their perceptions of reality on each other and make people use the speaking, the words that make sure that you are going along with the narrative.
It's why I haven't left the house for a week.
Smart.
You don't want to get infected. It's like Pluribus. Have you guys watched Pluribus, by the way?
No, but I've heard a lot of good things.
Man, that show is not perfect, but it is such an interesting concept and that's done in such a good way. Vince Gilligan, I'm a big fan of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. His cinematography, the way that he like actually shoots the shows, some people think it's a little boring, but I like that. I like the fact that he actually allows like scenes to develop rather than like everything as a quick cut edit.
Yeah, he allows things to breathe. Yeah,
it's a great show from the standpoint of the storyline and everything like that. And like it's got some gay stuff, but it's not like super woke. But it's definitely it's got some gay stuff.
Dan, you're getting desensitized to it. They're winning.
Oh, that's the other thing that's happened since our last show is Stranger Things went fully gay and being gay is a superpower.
I'm not watching it.
The other thing that's happened is we are either trying to buy or invade Greenland. It's unclear at this exact moment.
I don't get it.
Travis,
Travis. Yeah. Could someone tell me why we're invading Greenland?
Oh, I can absolutely explain the geopolitics of Greenland 100%. Basically, it's close to this country called Russia. And, so we have to have it. We have to have it. There's no reason not to have it. We have to have it.
We want to buy Greenland, and Europe is acting as if we're going to invade Greenland.
Yeah, so there's no chance we're invading Greenland. Trump has said like, oh, we're going to do this the easy way or the hard way, and he hasn't explained what the hard way is. It's just one of those threats. And
he's posturing for sure because he knows that they'll eventually probably back down, but you never know. The funny thing in the news today is that the UK sent a single soldier to defend Greenland.
That's about all you need. There's like 20 people who live there.
Well, I guess The
I
concept
think Germany
there,
sent like 12, maybe.
Yeah.
and the
Two.
concept there, I guess, is that if you do attack, you've technically attacked the UK, so the UK can declare war on the
But
United
Denmark,
States.
what does the UK have over?
Well, they're not in the EU, I guess.
They're part
but
of NATO.
They're part of NATO, but so are we.
So are we. We are NATO. We are the brute squad.
Yeah.
Nice.
Trump is saying that Denmark and Greenland cannot defend itself, and Europe is saying, "Oh no, we have Greenland's back because Denmark's part of the EU and all of that," and they cannot. So they sent 14 people over in a show of force. It's ridiculous.
I love the clip where a reporter asked Trump. He was walking. She just kind of caught him in the midst of him doing something, walking from point A to point B. And she was like, "Hey, did you hear that the prime minister of Greenland said he doesn't want you guys to take over Greenland?" And Trump said, "Wait, who?" Like, yeah, they don't want you to take over Greenland. And he said, "Well, it's probably not up to them." And he just,
Oh, man.
it's so Trump. He's like, "No, just shush."
Yeah.
I don't know. Greenland is interesting. I do think there's this sort of we've lost a little bit of our manifest destiny spirit in the U.S. And Alexander wept for there were no more worlds to conquer or whatever. And I think it's interesting we're talking about claiming land that we haven't done anything like this in a while. I don't
A long
quite
time.
get it. I haven't seen the
We
Greenland.
bought Alaska. We bought Alaska from Russia. What about the
In what,
Louisiana purchase? This
1950?
isn't
Yeah.
unusual.
Yeah.
So there's a report that Greenland could reportedly cost up to $700 billion. So I posted, all we have to do is close about 20 Somali daycares, and this thing is paid for.
Easy.
Let's make it happen.
Easy. And I had a dream that it will happen. So Greenland will become the 51st state.
Would anybody?
Travis is a time traveler.
Yeah, there we go.
Would any of you travel to Greenland if it became part of the United States?
Sure. I would travel there.
I
now.
wouldn't be opposed to it. I just
Is Greenland though? Like I think that like it would be interesting to see, but is it majestic? Is it like
Iceland is the one that people go to.
Iceland is the one that you
I've had a
want to
lot
go
of friends
to. Yeah.
that have gone to Iceland. I don't know much about Greenland. I know there are like 15 people who live there, and the little villages sure look cute. I'd go anywhere. I love travel, so why not?
As I learned from the Mighty Ducks 2, Greenland is full of ice. Iceland is very nice. So there's nothing there.
Life lessons from Mighty Ducks 2.
Yeah.
Is Emilio Estevez in that one? I've never seen this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, good for Emilio. Only 2 movies he ever did.
Well,
I think he
did Mighty
actually
Ducks
came back
3.
for he did the third one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
there
a
you
little
go.
more of a extended cameo, I think, but he is technically in it.
It's not like Home Alone 3, which just decides to do its own thing.
Veer off course quite a bit.
Yeah, different family, different kid, no mention whatsoever of the original. So anyway, Greenland, I guess, is on maybe potentially going to become the 51st state.
Sure.
It's weird. If we buy it for $700 billion, they're talking about, or I think it's like 400 something billion. They're talking about each resident is going to get like $8 million or whatever. If I was a resident of Greenland, I'd be pretty cool with that.
Yeah.
I don't know what that would do to the economy of Greenland, though, if everybody's instantly rich, right? Like, is anybody going to work anymore if everybody gets $8 million?
Yeah, they don't have to.
What do they do anyway?
What do they do? They go whaling.
It's like reparations in San Francisco. You just give everybody $5 million who claims certain heritage, and then utopia exists. We snap your fingers. We're good. It's good.
Based upon how opposed they are to this, though, I feel like it's definitely adding another state that's going to vote Democrat. For whatever reason.
I don't know.
These are rough people. These are tough people, but like they seem completely opposed to American. Like they're going to hate Trump, right? So their natural position is going to be anti whatever Trump is.
Well, if that happens, basically they would still buy Greenland, but they would just make it a territory and not a state, like Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico with no vote.
Because we own them, they just don't do anything.
Yeah, they don't have voting power in Congress. They have representatiws, but
is that what they're talking about doing, or are they talking about making it a state?
No, I heard more of a territorial situation. I don't know why. I don't know why you'd want them as a state. Trump said something about making them a state, but
he just says that about everything now. He says that about Canada,
Mexico, whatever. Maybe do they throw off the coldness of rugged individualism and embrace the warmth of collectivism, or are they pro rugged individualism? That's what I want to know.
Well, I think they have to embrace the warmth of collectivism because it's so cold.
It's so cold.
So cold.
And collectivism is so warm. and so good.
So, Robin, you have
Yes.
some blue hair breakdowns. Let's watch
I
one or
sure
two real
do.
quick, and then
Oh
move
my
on
gosh.
to our headlines, and then
There, the content gods smiled upon us quite abundantly over the break, because we're going to share a couple. We'll go through kind of quick succession, because there are a lot of people with different colors of hair saying things out there these days. So this first one, the caption on it was just, "There's a mental health crisis in the country." So are you guys seeing this?
yeah.
Yes, point of view, going to the doctor.
Yeah, I'm going to hit play.
It's not point of view, though.
Do we have a dead name in here? Dead name?
Hi. Yeah, it should be under Andy.
Yes, but your legal name would be dead name, correct?
Well, yes, but it's supposed to say Andy on my chart because
Perfect. Follow me, ma'am. So
All right, I'm going to stop it there. This one goes on forever, but you get the point. And now I will be honest with this individual. I don't fully know if this is a man or a woman.
That's a girl
So-
that's trying to be a boy, and they changed their
The
name to
girl?
Andy.
Okay. All right. So that's our
She's not
first
doing
one.
a very good job.
No, here's
That's-
yeah. Dead name. I think all those terms are going away with the Supreme Court ruling. They're going to rule that nobody's ever allowed to use the term dead name.
Well, the
ever
thing
again.
about the naming thing, which is like it's the one thing that I'll honor. If they legally change their name, the
Right,
name
it's
change
their
should be
legal name.
name change should be honored. I think it's ridiculous for boys to change their name to Josie and go by Josie when they were Joe, right? Like, but at the same time, if they legally change their name, you do actually have to honor the name change. That's the only like push
Right.
like thing that I'll give them, I guess.
because
Only
there's
ground
no
I'll give
way
them.
to know what their previous name was. Okay, Mr. B, you shared this one. I have not watched this, but I can just judge by the way this woman is looking into the
Oh.
camera with her
She looks
big,
like Sherry O'Terry a little bit.
I don't
Remember
know who that is.
from SNL?
It's Saturday Night Live.
She was a
Absolutely.
cheerleader.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. We're going into this one cold. Here we go.
This is actually for ICE. Do you
Oh,
think
no.
he's going to give a if we kill you?
What?
Who?
He's not. He's not.
Is that a
He'll
cow?
forget you even existed faster than I will.
It's a horse.
He doesn't give a
Wait, is
Well,
she
it's because
saying
he's an animal.
kill?
Trump isn't going to care if liberals kill ICE or kill us.
Well, I thought she was talking about the cow behind her.
I think she's saying that Trump will not care
If they kill ICE agents.
if they kill ICE agents, because he's such a psychopath.
So she's
She's
threatening
basically
to kill
saying she's
ICE
gonna-
agents.
she's gonna murder ICE agents.
and nobody's going to care.
She's just gonna there's a line to follow with
There's
the
a
logic
lot of
there.
mental health issues going on in our country right now.
Yeah, maybe we should just call this section
mental health breakdown.
mental health
Yeah.
moments. And I'm here to help any of you. If you guys want to come to my house, I will make you food and I will pat you on the head. And that's all. Okay.
All right, last one.
This is a screed against white men from a woman who looks like,
Is it
I
a
don't-
woman?
well, I don't know. Let's find out. Let's just find out.
So,
All right.
at what point
Okay.
are we going to finally say it's white men? At what point are we going to make the determination and say white men are problematic? And trust me, it's white women too, but it really is white men that are dictating all of the things that create this problematic environment. And then everybody, like what I was talking about with the white proximity, it's also like white male proximity. You know, the women who are performing for the male gaze, they're performing for that white male gaze to
gaze?
get what they're hoping will be the proximity to the privilege that the white man holds in this country. And so, like, when are we going to start to address that we need to really deep dive into dismantling whatever mental illness is attached to white.
I'll tell you, mental illness is wearing those glasses.
Yes.
They are large.
And those
it-
hoops.
And make that go away. And
that
until then,
Jacqueline?
we probably won't see any forward movement because really, it's always white men.
Okay.
The
is she talking
self-loathing
about?
that these liberals have is disgusting.
I just want to say that it's 2026 And coming out against the white male isn't really original. This is
yeah, what is she talking about? When are we going to come to terms that it's the white male? That's all that liberals have been saying since 2004.
Right.
How racist is that for the people that say they're not racist?
Well, you can't be racist against white men.
No.
That's the whole thing.
I don't know if our listeners read. I wrote a take for Not the Bee about the patriarchy this week. If you haven't read it, go read it. I encourage you to read it. And it's about kind of the same thing. And I essentially ask, who are these white men? Who is the patriarchy? Can you name them? Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess they would say Trump, but Trump's just the president. There's been a bunch of them, and you loved Biden, and he was a white guy. So this seems more like you just hate Republicans, and if they're male, then you hate them more. I don't know. It just seems ridiculous.
And it comes down to them hating Christian values, and white men, represent Christian values and Christian leadership, and that's what they hate. Really,
and some
ultimately.
Do. And some are simps.
Ultimately, all this comes down to, all of it is a rejection of truth, a rejection of biblical truths, the rejection of Christianity, and the people who spread Christianity and represent it in a strong way are the people that you go after the first, and that just happens to be white males. It could have been anybody, but it is, it's white males as the people that they've set the targets on. There's a ton of other stuff that happened that we didn't talk about that is worth talking about, but we are running out of time today. You got Oregon removing 800,000 people from their mail-in ballots, from their mail-in ballot logs or whatever, that were eligible to vote this last year, that got, ballots mailed to them, that magically now they've been inactive for so long, they've just been removed, but they were actually able to vote in 2024. You've got the Venezuela thing that we didn't even talk about, how crazy that situation was. We've got war in Iran potentially happening. We got the shooting in Minnesota with Tim Walz, and Tim is involved in so many different issues right now. And he's not continuing his run for governor again. He's probably a little bit afraid that somebody's going to come after him, or at least he's taken the call to say, you got to at least step down. We're not going to prosecute you, whatever. I have no idea. You got net migration being negative for the first time in 50 years, which is huge. That is what I voted for. I believe it should be even more than it is. I think that we are way too lax on enforcing immigration laws. Even with all the stuff that's going on with ICE right now, I don't think that we're doing enough. I think that we still give people too much of a benefit of the doubt. I really do.
I think we should have no one in the country at all.
Just like Greenland.
Just Travis.
Dude, if you could eliminate everybody who's not supposed to be here from our country, the difference overnight in what this country would be is unfathomable.
Unfathomable.
All right, let's read a couple Babylon Bee headlines from the forum, and then do a couple of questions, and then wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go to our featured headlines for this week. And Travis, you can go ahead and read these once they load. I'm not sure why they're not loading. Here we go. I will go.
I had a dream that they would load, so it's going to be fine.
You traveled
Look
here
at that. It happened. From the Big Freeze, Trump orders RFK to add Big Mac and Diet Coke to food pyramid.
That's good.
RFK did say recently that he doesn't know how Trump is still alive, which is kind of funny.
It was
with his diet.
Yeah. Right.
Oh man.
Okay.
From 2 degrees off, Minnesota DMV quietly removes cardboard cutout ICE agents from driver exam course.
Oh geez. Oh man.
That's dark. That's dark. That's dark. And from B-Town Boiler, White House announces over 1 million new jobs were created in December, but they were all filled by Marco Rubio.
Oh, we published that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one actually got published.
Yeah, and that one performed really well.
To see the other published ones. Is that the only one that was published this week? Let me see. Okay, here's another one.
From Cold Kurgle, helpful first grader launches letter writing campaign to inform Supreme Court that boys are not girls.
So that's the one that we saw. We just rewrote it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because it's really unbelievable. A first grader wouldn't write a letter writing campaign. They wouldn't know what that is.
Not in today's America.
Outrageous. From Taragsdale, American men overwhelmingly support trade of American white liberal women for Iranian women.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw that one, and I was dissecting it in my head. Isn't that encouraging immigration that we don't want? I don't know.
It's a swap that we can handle that one.
You're safe, Robin. You're not liberal.
Thank you.
From David Johnson, Somalis ask if we can please stop judging them by the content of their character.
Oh my god!
Oh, yikes!
Valid question. There are some good ones. I don't remember what was the one that we published off of that? That was Somalis demand Americans stop judging them by the content.
Pretty much the same one.
Verbatim,
yeah. All right, that's it for headlines this week. Mr. B, you got some wrap-up questions for us?
Robin, what is your New Year's resolution for 2026?
Oh, I don't do resolutions. I pick a word every year.
What is it?
My word for this year is temperance. I had to think about it for a minute. I am focusing on temperance, which is I've been reading a lot about Stoic philosophy, and it's about controlling your emotions, controlling your feelings, being intentional with how you direct your energy. Last year's word was create. And then I make a little acrostic where I write like words off of the letters of the word. And so this year's, I'm just focusing on
Isn't temperance not drinking alcohol?
Well, that's what they called the temperance movement back in
abolitionist
the prohibition movement. Yeah. I'm also going to figure out how to not have ghost hair. That's one of my big New Year. If you're watching this on YouTube, I don't know what's going on with my green screen, but I'm like fading in and out of the green screen. So that's a big goal of mine.
I'll zoom in on that.
You're being erased from existence.
I am. I feel like it's Back
to the Future.
But yeah,
Judge Reinhold.
My goals focus this year around sort of self discipline and being more of a master of my ship.
Okay, we'll check in with you in March and see how that's going.
Travis, September.
Travis, what's your word of the year?
Silence. I don't know if you can hear the piano going on downstairs. I'm trying to.
We can't.
Do a podcast.
We cannot hear it. That's just
Are you a time traveler? You're playing piano in the other room, so you're.
Oh man, that'd be great news for me because I don't know how to play piano. So it would mean that I, over time, learned it, then went back in time to impress myself.
Like Groundhog's Day, Bill Murray.
Yeah, just like Groundhog's Day.
Okay. Dan, what about you? Any resolutions?
You know what? I didn't make any New Year's resolutions. I want to grow our podcast, and I don't know.
So like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe. We forgot. Oh, my New Year's resolution was to tell people to like and subscribe at the beginning of each episode, and I didn't.
You messed up.
No, I don't think I really have any. I think everybody over the age of 40 is kind of trying to lose weight, or at least like not weigh more at the end of the year than they did at the beginning. And this year I actually did it. I was down like 2 pounds for the whole year, which is a big thing. So maybe more of that, maybe a little bit more of that, less Big Macs.
But they're so
You
good.
lost 2 pounds, but you cut your hair. You used to have, 2 pounds of hair under that hat.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an easy weight loss solution.
Yeah.
Robin, if you could have one guest on this show, whether they want to or not, this year, who would it be?
Alive or anyone from history?
Alive.
Any public figure right now. I find Joe Rogan fascinating. His podcast was one that really brought me out of some different philosophies, just listening to people that he's talked to. I find him a really fascinating public figure, especially like his background in wrestling and Fear Factor. And I've always wanted to have a conversation with him and just like shoot the breeze. So I would love to talk to him.
And Travis, besides Johnny Knoxville, because he took over Fear Factor, who is yours?
Johnny Knoxville took over Fear Factor?
Yeah, they just redid Fear Factor, and it's Johnny Knoxville, which I think is the perfect person for that.
If you're not going to just do Joe Rogan again, that makes a lot of sense. So aside from him, I would like to talk to Weird Al Yankovic.
Ooh, we need to make that happen.
I choose Weird Al too.
Daniel?
Oh, me? I would have to say...
besides Jasmine Crockett.
That would be fun.
It's really hard to choose one person. Right now, I'd really like to talk to Nick Shirley and sit down with him. But I think it kind of just changes with the news. It's not just like one particular person that I would love to talk to. You know, I've lived a kind of blessed life. I've met a lot of people who I've considered to be kind of mentors and stuff like that. So I've had conversations with a lot of those people. I've met Trump, but I would love to have Trump on just because that's so much fun. But I do think that one day probably we'll have Elon on.
Oh, that'd be cool.
At some point in time, when it works out with schedules, we might have him on it. And that's always fascinating. Any opportunity I do get to talk to Elon, I always learn to look at something in a different way than I did before, or hear something really crazy and ridiculous and funny the way that he puts things.
Well, and I have a proposal for Elon I'd like to put in front of him.
I'm sure he would love that.
Yeah, I have a big idea that I really want to pitch to him about how to increase fertility. So,
oh gosh, do not start talking to Elon about fertility. It is bad.
Do you think he would buy me full self-driving for my car?
I think if you ask nicely.
I mean, it's like a penny for him. It's mere pennies.
It's not going to hurt to ask.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to ask that. Oh my goodness. That seems so rude.
I mean, I know it's really stereotypical, but Elon and Donald Trump would be the most exciting for me to personally have on the show, and just kind of talk to, and most interesting conversations you can have. They do all those things online, always like, oh, you're on a plane, and these are the different groups that you can sit between. One of them had Candace and Seth in the same row, and I'm like, oh, that would be interesting.
That'd be really interesting.
That would be an interesting row, but I don't
Candace.
want to sit next to my brother. I'm like, that sucks.
Yeah, that's boring. You already know him.
I already know him, but that would be pretty. That would be pretty dramatic. Anyway, all right. I think that's it for this week. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our channel. Like this video, comment below. Tell us who you guys would like to see on, and be realistic. This is. We are actually looking for a list of people to bring on the show this year in season 2. And we want good lists. Like last year, we did a lot of really good, we had Data Republican on. That was awesome. And we had Colin Wright on, and just people that are kind of in that sphere of experts on something that it would be fascinating to share with a bunch of other people. Whether it's biblical archaeology or it's something with I don't know, whatever. I want to have experts on here who have interesting topics to talk about that aren't just news. So tell us who you guys would like to see on the show, and we'll pursue them.
Sounds great.
All right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.